it's Stephanie, Miss Oh So Crafty. I'm back, I'm alive. I missed you all so much. And welcome to my Flosstube video number 69. It has been a long, strange summer. Not the best of times, not the worst of times either, but it's just been busy. And unfortunately today, I don't really have time to do a full Flosstube update. It would be a long one because since I last filmed, I've had finishes, I've had starts, I've had stash, and all sorts of what progress, so not to mention the reading, the books. I will do that on another day when I have more time, maybe this weekend. But as for now, what I want to do is share my plans and what I've done so far for the School of Magical Stitches OWL homework. So what we're doing is we're working on Book 5, Order of the Phoenix, and in that book, one of the major events is Harry and his friends take the OWL exams, Ordinary Wizarding Levels, which are topical exams in all the magical disciplines. And there's 7 core classes, and there's 5 electives, of which we can choose up to 3. So there are 2 options for the homework. You can do each exam with 100 stitches, which would give you an E grade, or you can do each exam with 200 stitches, that would give you an O grade, which is outstanding. That's the highest level you can get. So yeah, I am here in my capacity as a Slytherin prefect. Some of you are like, she's not a Slytherin. Okay, let me come clean here. I'm actually a Ravenclaw, but Slytherin is my second affinity, so I volunteered when they needed people for Slytherin, and I must say I really love being a Slytherin, mainly because we've won virtually everything, so it's cool. Alright, and somebody posted this morning asking in the Magical Stitches group if people would make videos talking about their homework and stuff, because there have been a lot of questions and a lot of confusion and just a lot of, this week is kind of challenging. It's not as flexible as a lot of weeks are. There's no option for penalty stitches or anything like that. You just kind of have to stick with the program. So I'm going to discuss what we have to do and show you what I'm doing for each of the tasks. So the core exams include astronomy, charms, defense against the dark arts, herbology, history of magic, potions, transfiguration. And then the electives include arithmancy, study of ancient runes, care of magical creatures, divination, and Muggle studies. So astronomy is probably the one a lot of people are having difficulty with because it's kind of narrow. For astronomy, you must do something with a night sky or stars or moon or something like that, or constellations. So what I'm doing for that one is Spooky House, because it has a big old moon and in the night sky. This is patterned by X's and O's, and it's stitched on Thunderstorm Belfast by Vintage Silk Weaver. The next exam is charms. So charms in the Harry Potter sense are basically spells, and there is a list on the Harry Potter wiki, which I will link in my video when I post it on YouTube, that will give you an idea of what charms we can use. And the charms are not we're not talking about a rabbit's foot or anything. The charms are more, like spells. So there's all sorts of spells for all sorts of purposes, all sorts of charms. And I looked at the list of charms and I chose Aqua Erecto, which basically produces water from the tip of one's wand. And I said I would use that to water the flowers in my garden on the spring bell pull. There are tons of charms, though, for all sorts of different purposes. So the next class is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and back to the charms. One of the most important dark arts spells is the Patronus charm. So the Patronus is basically where you create a animal avatar, if you will, to protect you from bad magic. So my personal Patronus, per the quizzes, one of the quizzes that are online is the Phoenix. So again, I am using Spring Bell Pull because it has birds, and I'm saying that the bird is related to the Phoenix, both being birds, and they both have beaks and wings and all that stuff, so yeah. So you can actually use the same project for Defense Against Dark Arts and Charms, because Patronus charm, the Patronus spell is indeed a charm. So there's a little hint for you. Other Defense Against the Dark Arts things would be like, well, any of like the spells that Harry and his friends learn to fight against the dark arts. So, all right, number 4 is herbology. That one is pretty easy. That would be like plants, basically, a bonus for magical plants. So for that one, I am choosing to do the spring bell pull, because there are some white flowers in here, which I think could be the white lily, the asphodel, which is one of the magical plants, one of the basic ones. Another one that comes to mind is knotgrass, which is an ingredient in polyjuice potion. And what the heck is knotgrass? Well, I mean, it's grass. So this piece, you can't see it because it's up in the scroll, but it has grass, so I could have done this one for it as well. Knotgrass is probably like the easiest thing, because lots of whips have grass in them, so just say that it's not grass, and then there you go, herbology. Alright, number 5 is history of magic. This one is a little difficult because, well, what is the history of magic? It's a class that is taught by a ghost at Hogwarts, and the story is he was just like a longtime teacher, and one day he died, but he was so set in his routine, he just continued to teaching class as a ghost. So I asked if it would be okay to use a ghost, because the professor was a ghost, and Vicky said yes. So I'm using this piece because it has ghosts trapped inside of it, like these little guys. Those are ghosts. So other history of magic ideas would be like anything with books, words, letters, maps. That's another good idea. Anything related to particular magical history bits, like history, like goblin revolts or werewolf code of conduct or whatever. There is a list online of the topics that they studied in magical history class, and I will link that in my video below. In the notes. All right, number 6 is potions, and this one there is a good overlap with herbology, because what do you put in your potions? You put the herbs and other things. So basically, you just have to pick something that's a potion ingredient, and I am going the easy route and using knotgrass, the grass that's in the graveyard here on the Spooky House piece, because knotgrass is an important ingredient in Polyjuice Potion, which plays a large role in the books. But any sort of flower, most flowers or plants or whatever could be used for potions, so there is definitely a lot of leeway with that. And other people have gone in different directions with it, using more like the result of the potion. Like I saw one person using a piece with like brownies or whatever, and she said that she was going to follow Hermione's example and dose the treats with her potion. So that's a good idea too. And then number 7 is transfiguration. So that is a class in Hogwarts, and it's basically the art of turning something into something else. So that is incredibly broad. You could transfigure any sort of object, really could be transfigured. You basically just have to say what it is. So for me, I'm doing this tree, which has a face. It's not stitched yet, but you can kind of get the idea that it's a woman. Like there's her chest and her arms and everything. But I'm saying that this tree is a witch, a woman whose transfiguration spell went wrong. So she's like a woman trapped in tree form. All right. Now we move on to electives. So there's 5 of them, and you can choose up to 3. So the first elective is arithmancy, and for that one, I chose to use Save the Stitches because it has geometric designs in it, diamonds. For arithmancy, you could do anything with geometric designs, with numbers, dates, that kind of thing. Yeah. Save the Stitches happened to be on the frame, so I actually started with that one. I did this motif there. 200 stitches, or the equivalent in backstitch, so like 400 back stitches. So the deal with the electives is you must do the 7 core classes, and then you can do the electives as a bonus. But if you don't complete, you can start with the elective like I did, but if you don't complete your 7 core classes, you're not going to get any credit for the electives. So depending on how much stitchy time you have and stuff like that, I would advise you to start with the core classes. Alright, the next elective is the study of ancient runes, and I did not opt to do that one, but I will briefly say what you could use for it. So for ancient runes, you could do words, letters, symbols, like Quaker motifs are a great example. You know, letters, words, like I said, so that one is pretty broad too. Like the, if you're stitching something Harry Potter related and they have like the little Deathly Hallows symbol, that would count as like a rune and that kind of thing, so have fun with that. Alright, the next elective is the care of magical creatures, and for that one I decided to use my portrait of Ginny and Fleur. So in this is Anna by Anna Corbett, and in the original pattern she is holding an apple out. So I have decided to rechart her apple as a pygmy puff, which is Ginny's pet in the series. So it's like this, it's actually quite easy because the pygmy puff is about the size of an apple. And I actually charted it out yesterday. First I was thinking I would stitch it over 1, but then I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really think I need to stitch it over 1. It's not terribly detailed, so I think I'm going to stitch it over 2 and then just do like satin stitches or whatever to mimic the fluffiness of all the hair, the fluffy hair. And then I'll just do like French knots or whatever and a little bit of back stitch for the face. I'm going to use 2 colors of like a pinky purple. I think it's 3708, 3709 or something like that. I used my new DMC color card to figure it out. First time I used it. I'm so thrilled to have that. My friend Melissa found it for me on the freebie table at the Flosstube retreat in New Jersey. Thank you so much, Melissa. Awesome find. So magical creatures could be a lot of different things. Dragons, unicorns, mermaids, werewolves, any of the weird animals that Hagrid enjoys. Those are all magical creatures. There's lots of things you can do for magical creatures. That one's pretty broad as well. And then the next elective is divination. So that divination is the art of telling the future, and that one is also pretty broad. We had a homework in the past that concerned divination, and there's a lot of different ways you can fill that. So in the book, they tell the future by looking into crystal balls, by reading the tea leaves, by reading different sort of leaves, by reading one's palm. So yeah, you could go in that direction, tea or crystal balls or palms. In the past, what I did for crystal ball was I used a piece that was on opalescent fabric, and I said it was sparkly like a crystal ball, or anything that has like a round object in it could count potentially as a crystal ball if it is indeed, spherical. So that one is pretty broad as well. There is a list on Facebook of things that counted for divination previously. I will see if I can link it below. I'm not sure if I'll be able to because it is like a Facebook document, but I'll try. And then the last elective is Muggle Studies. And what are Muggle Studies? That one is a little bit tricky because, well, the wizards are people too, right? So things that overlap between wizards and people don't count. So you couldn't just do like a lady in fancy dress because she could be a witch, right? So it has to be something specifically Muggle. For example, cars. Like in the book, Ron's father Mr. Weasley was so obsessed with the Ford Anglia because, you know, it was a Muggle a Muggle artifact and everything. So Muggle artifacts would be things that are just like part of Muggle culture or history or whatever that do not overlap necessarily into the wizarding world. So what I chose for that one is one of my new pieces, the Gingerbread Grove by Glendon Place. And I said for this one, it's a gingerbread house, which is a Muggle tradition. All the baking and the decorating, wizards wouldn't bother with that. They would just like flick their wands around and like decorate that way, right? You know, just like charm the decorations into being. They wouldn't spend all the time with the slaving in the kitchen and all the decoration time for gingerbread villages. So this is definitely a Muggle thing. All right, that is all my plans for the homework, and I hope that this video helped you out, and I hope to be back on Flosstube soon, hopefully this weekend, to do a full update, and it will be a long one because I have all sorts of stuff to share, whips and finishes and books and everything. All right, happy stitching, everyone. Be good. Ta-ta.